So in this lesson, which is going to be our final lesson in S2 chemistry, we're going to look at fertilizers as something that gets added to soil. So we are going to look at the types of chemicals used in agriculture and how we can use synthetic or natural ones. So we're going to think about the three main elements that plants need for growth, be able to explain why fertilizers are used, and give examples of natural and synthetic, which means man-made fertilizers. So when it comes to plants and soil. Plants need soil to help them grow because it provides them with essential elements, air and water, and also because without soil around their roots, plants would easily just blow away in the wind or get swept away whenever it rained heavily. So soil is really important for plants. Plants get the essential elements from the soil whenever those elements dissolve in water and they absorb them through the roots. Now, the type of soil in which a plant grows will determine whether that plant is able to thrive and grow naturally or whether it will not be able to grow at all. Specific plants grow best in particular types of soil. For example, a plant like the one shown on the right-hand side, a yucca plant, needs a clay type soil which holds on to lots of water, whereas lavender, which is a really nice smelling plant, needs quite sandy soil that's dry in order for it to grow most efficiently. However, most plants will grow best in a loam soil. Now, a loam soil is one that has a good mix of sand particles and clay particles, but it also has a lot of the organic material that we call humus in it. Now, sometimes to help plants grow in soil, we add things called fertilizers. Fertilizers are used by farmers or by gardeners to replace some of those essential minerals and elements, put them back into the soil after plants have absorbed them. They improve the growth of plants. Now, fertilizers contain three important elements. So these essential elements are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen is needed for overall growth of the plant, phosphorus is needed for the roots, and potassium is needed to help the plants form fruits and flowers. Now, the elements nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium are sometimes shortened to the letters N, P, K. And that's because N is the element symbol for nitrogen, P is the element symbol for phosphorus, and K is the element symbol for potassium. So NPK are the three elements, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, that are essential for plants to be able to grow. And fertilizers can either be natural or they can be synthetic. By synthetic or artificial, we mean man-made. So we'll first look at natural fertilizers. Natural fertilizers are ones which we don't need to create them. They exist in nature. They are produced by animals or plants. And examples of natural fertilizers are compost. So that is when you leave plants and animals to start to rot. And as they start to rot and decay, they release the essential minerals and elements into the soil. We then have manure. Now, manure does mean poo when it's animal manure. Now, then we also have synthetic fertilizers, and synthetic fertilizers are chemicals that we make to put into the soil. They are man-made. They are made by chemical reactions in a laboratory, And if you do continue in doing chemistry into S3 and S4, you will be able to do a reaction in which you make a fertilizer. And examples of these synthetic fertilizers are things like ammonium nitrate, potassium phosphate, but you do not need to know them. Now, what you may get to do is, in class, you might get to test out different fertilizers by growing some seeds on cotton wool and testing out which one works the best. But because this is a video and we can't show you the results of that experiment, that is us actually covered all you need to know about fertilizers. The three main elements, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK. Why fertilizers are used? Well, they're used to help plants grow better, and examples of natural and synthetic fertilizers. So natural fertilizers are things like compost and manure, and synthetic fertilizers are man-made chemicals. The rest of this video is going to be questions, so as usual, if you would like to test yourself for revision purposes, continue watching, otherwise you can turn off now. But what are the three chemicals required for plants to survive? Those three elements are nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, or NPK. What do we use to give plants these chemicals? We use fertilizers. Fertilizers can be natural or they can be synthetic. Give an example of a natural fertilizer. Well, you could have compost or manure. What are the three elements found in synthetic fertilizers? Well, those are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And finally, to finish off, we've got a numeracy, a hot skills question, which is describe the relationship between the fertilizer concentration and the amount of plant growth. So you're describing what you can see in that graph. So in that graph, what we can see is that as the fertilizer concentration increases from 33% up to 100% growth, 100%, sorry, the plant growth is increasing, but as the fertilizer concentration increases even more to 166%, the plant growth decreases. So we see one trend of it increasing up to 100, and then we see it decreasing again as the fertilizer concentration gets even higher. So that concludes or finishes S2 chemistry.